Interior Design and Decorating with Antiques, brought to you by theoldhouseonmarket.com. Tip number 2. Put thought into how you group your antiques together. You know, one of the first things I tell people is to group antiques in odd numbers. So let's take a look at why that's important. In this example picture, the top shelf has 3 makeshift rows of beautiful antique ironstone. It looks good, right? Well, imagine if there were only 2 rows instead of 3. Now think of what it would look like if there were 4 rows. You see, with 2 rows, the shelf would feel pretty empty. And with 4 rows, it would appear too crowded. But you know what? There's a more important reason why antiques should be grouped in odd numbers. Let's face it, folks. Odd numbers are simply more appealing to the eye. Marketers have figured this out, so when you go to your local grocery store, things will be priced as $3.99 instead of $4, or maybe $5.99 instead of $6. Certainly we're only paying a penny less, but there's more to it than that. Odd numbers are more appealing, marketers know that, and they price accordingly. Exterior landscapers have also figured this trick out, and so you'll notice most plants and shrubbery are in rows of 3 or 5 or 7. It's just simply more appealing. The second tip of this video is to not scatter your antiques, and don't crowd them together as well. You'll notice in this photo we have antiques from the Baroque period. They aren't crowded together, and yet it also doesn't feel like they were simply crammed together in that corner of the room. There's a smooth flow of antiques from left to right. Don't crowd too many antiques together, and don't scatter miscellaneous antiques throughout a room. And in this picture, we'll see 2 lamps quite close to one another. Crowding similar items together is often hard on the eyes, so don't do it. The final tip for this video is to group similar objects together. In this picture, we have ironstone antiques displayed on the shelves again. Don't have one full shelf of antique dolls, and then another full of ironstones, and then another full of, well, you get the idea. In other words, don't split the shelves up with unrelated items. You know, I've got a friend who collects antique teaspoons from different eras and countries, and if she wanted to, she could probably put into her collection some tablespoons, some antique forks, or other silverware that would be related to the teaspoons that she's collected. She also displays them on a cork board by pinning them up there, and she's got a really nice frame around the edge. But you know, she wouldn't want to put antique political pins, for example, with her teaspoons. They just don't go together, so make sure that you put your like objects together. And finally, going back to our example picture earlier, stick with the theme of the room. Don't have one portion of the room be dedicated to Baroque pieces and then another portion with antiques from the Elizabethan period. In this photo, we don't see the whole room, but if the rest of the room has similar decor as what we see in this corner, these folks have a wonderfully decorated room. Remember, put thought into how you group your antiques together.